momentous occasion of the 42nd Foundation Day of Goa University. Today is not merely a celebration of the completion of 42 years. It's a celebration of a dream, a vision, and the collective aspirations of the people of Goa who believed that higher education should have a strong foundation within the state, a foundation that would nurture knowledge, creativity, innovation, and human values. 42 years ago, Goa University was born to fulfill this cherished aspiration. Established in 1985, the university emerged from the erstwhile postgraduate center of the University of Mumbai, carrying forward the academic legacy and aspirations of a society that valued education as the pathway to progress. Being a unique coastal state, Goa had a special responsibility and opportunity to contribute to areas connected with its natural heritage. Recognizing this, disciplines such as marine science, earth science were introduced and creating the initial nucleus of the university. This was a visionary step, understanding that the ocean, the earth, and the environment are not only resources but also repositories of knowledge and possibilities. Over the years, Goa University has grown steadily, expanding its academic horizon by introducing programs across diverse disciplines based on the changing needs of society, industry, and in general to the nation. From sciences to humanities, social sciences to technology, the university has continuously evolved, reflecting the spirit of a living institution, one that learns, adapts, and grows with time. This journey has transformed Goa University into a truly multidisciplinary education and research university, earning a recognition from the Ministry of Education, Government of India as Meru. This recognition is not just as an achievement, it's a responsibility to further strengthen our commitment towards creating knowledge that serves humanity. Academic excellence, research contributions, commitment to innovation, and continuous pursuit to quality have earned us the distinction of an A+ grade accreditation by National Assessment and Accreditation Council. This honor belongs to every member of the university, family, our faculty, our researchers, staff, students, and alumni who have contributed through their dedication and passion. At Goa University, we believe that the purpose of education is not only to create successful individuals, but to create responsible human beings who can contribute meaningfully to society. Keeping this vision in mind, we have taken several initiatives. The establishment of a research park is an important step towards connecting young innovators and entrepreneurs with industry, encouraging translation of ideas into solutions, and building a culture of innovation and enterprise. We have also strengthened our global academic connections through collaborations and MOU with the international institutions, providing opportunities for our young faculty and researchers to gain global exposure, exchange knowledge, and become contributors to the international academic community. At the same time, while embracing modern science and technology, we have always respected the wisdom of our ancient traditions. We strongly believe that ancient wisdom and modern science must not remain separate streams. Rather, their convergence can create a more balanced and enlightened future. With this philosophy, the establishment of School of Sanskrit Philosophy and Indic Knowledge Studies represents our commitment to preserving, understanding, and integrating the intellectual heritage of India with contemporary knowledge systems. As we celebrate 42 years, we look back with gratitude, but look ahead with the greater responsibility. The future belongs to universities that can create knowledge, encourage curiosity, promote innovation, preserve values, and address global challenges. A university is built by dreams, by ideas, by the dedication of teachers, and by the aspirations of young minds. Today, we celebrate this milestone. We are privileged to have amongst us a personality who represents the highest ideals of science, technology, and national service. That is Padma Vibhushan Dr. Anil Kakodgadi. Sir, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. In fact, I would say that while sitting in my room just with one telephone call to, I would say, the Honorable Kakotkarji, took the phone and without even disconnecting, he said that let me look at the book, diary, and immediately he said, yes, I am available. So I'm very much thankful because your presence or your gracious presence here really means a lot for Goa University.
बहुत बहुत बधाई। और सर्वोत्कृष्ट महाविद्यालय 2025-2026 पुरुष बहुत बहुत बधाई। अगला पुरस्कार खेल में सर्वोत्कृष्ट महाविद्यालय 2025-2026 पुरुष और तीसरे स्थान पर यूनिवर्सिटी गेम्स 2025 में महिला फुटबॉल टीम का अपने प्रतिनिधित्व किया है। पश्चिम क्षेत्र अंतर विश्वविद्यालय महिला फुटबॉल चैंपियनशिप 2025-2026 में तीसरा स्थान प्राप्त किया है। अखिल भारतीय अंतर विश्वविद्यालय महिला फुटबॉल चैंपियनशिप 2025-2026 में आपकी सहभागिता रही है।
60 of Goa University, Professor Harilal Menon, Honorable Registrar, Professor Dhuri, distinguished members of the management bodies, academic bodies, and all other organizational structures of Goa University, members of faculty, principals of colleges, students, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me express my gratitude for this opportunity to be a part of this 42nd Foundation Day of the University. Coming to Goa is always a homecoming for me. So I normally don't miss any opportunity. So thank you very much. I must also appreciate your Hindi.
Yeah, very good.
I had the good fortune of having my primary education in Madhya Pradesh. And while I did my primary education in Marathi, the secondary education was in Hindi. So that way I come from Hindi belt. And I promise you that I couldn't speak Hindi as good as you have done. So that's wonderful to hear. Thank you, Professor Dhuri, for that very, I think our Deputy Registrar for that very generous introduction. Internets have a lot of advantages and also disadvantages. So, while many things are true, some of things are not true. And while many things are current, some of them are obsolete. But I think, thank you for being so generous. We are all here to celebrate the 42nd Foundation Day of the University. Goa University has been making steady progress on academic and research front. and it is good to hear that you now have A plus ranking, MAC ranking of A plus, and also from what I hear, you are making a true all-round progress, Goa as a state, in the field of education, with university being the center of catalyzing this entire education activity in the state. I was fortunate to be a member of a committee that was constituted some time back to look at future of Goa. And of course this Goa has many dimensions. I'm sure sitting in Goa you will agree, but I think even people outside feel the impact that in terms of talent pool, Goa perhaps has a very high density of talent in the state, and in all dimensions of learning, arts, culture, and so on. And being a Goan and observing Goa from a distance, because I stayed mostly outside Goa, I always felt that this should be a matter of research as to why Goa supports so much of talent. I am only telling from a perceptional perspective, but per 100 people, if you count talented people, you will find maximum number of people here. And that is something that we should not lose track on, but rather build upon. And obviously, human capability is the primary thing to move in that direction. And two of the most important domains that allow you to move in that direction are, to my mind, education and health. And in terms of education, Goa, I think, is particularly, I would say, fortunate and blessed with the number of institutions, higher, of course we are talking here of higher education institution. Education, of course, all dimensions of education are very important, but talking about higher education institution, Goa has perhaps, again, a very significant density of such institutions. You have Goa University, you have IIT, you have NIT, you have BIT, you have institutions in Ayurveda, medicine, engineering, management, what have you. So, in fact, in that report, in that committee work which I mentioned, this has been in fact stressed, and one of the ambition for Goa could be to make it the education destination of prime importance, not just in the country but in its absolute sense. And in that context, I actually chose to talk about this very subject, higher education and national development. Now, it is of course stating the obvious, but many times the obvious is not all that obvious. And I must start with myself. I have spent a whole professional life in working for atomic energy program in India. We are very proud, at least I am very proud, that we have built self-reliant capability in an area where nobody would share anything with you, no knowledge, no technology. But in spite of that constraint, today India is internationally recognized as a country with advanced nuclear technology. And there is a further rider to this statement, that is, India is a responsible country with advanced nuclear technology. So I think it has both the dimension of technology achievement, but it has also the dimension of human behavior, which are both very important in the context of educational attainments. But continuing, what I want to tell you is, while I am myself very proud of this achievement, after having mastered the PHWR, pressurized heavy water reactor technology, which today is the mainstay. We have today 100 gigawatt nuclear mission announced by the government, a very ambitious mission. And that mission, of course, it has space for all technologies, all possibilities. But it is clear to me that that mission, a large part of it, a majority part of it, would comprise of our indigenous pressurized heavy water reactor technology. In fact, there are a lot of discussions taking place with various private industries. And the sense I am getting, see, normally the tendency is to try to look for technology abroad, because we feel that foreign technology means better technology. The discussion that I am following, of course I am following it from outside, gives me the sense that the PHWR, the indigenous PHWR technology, remains the preferred option even of Indian private industries. So that tells you the attainment on technological terms in an area where there have been restrictions, embargoes on transfer of technology. So with that positive side, when this was now, by this time I had reached the top level in atomic energy program. And so naturally, for me it is natural to think what next. And there are many things to follow. The newer technologies of fast reactors, and you have heard the 500 megawatt prototype fast breeder reactor just becoming operational. Operational in the sense the nuclear chain reaction has just been established. So the second stage of program is now on. And then there is a third stage. You must have heard about the famous 3-stage program. The third stage involving thorium. Now the thought that came to my mind at that time was, PHWR technology we have mastered, but it is after all a technology which others had also developed. We also independently developed, so we are proud of it. But if I ask a question, is that a technology which is, high impact making? It is a high impact making, but which is developed for the first time in the world. I have to say no, that is not the case. Come to fast reactors. Fast reactor, even more difficult technology. The number of countries who have mastery in that technology you can't count on the fingers of your single hand. It's that low. So we are there. Certainly matter to be very proud of. Again ask that question. Is that the technology where we have been the first in the world? The answer is no. Come to third stage, thorium, which is very critical for India, because India has the largest thorium resources in the world, and so if once we master the technology to harness energy from thorium, we literally have the capability of meeting all our requirements, current and future energy requirements, but also harness much more for rest of the world. And so once we master, India can become what OPEC countries are to the world today. But then when I ask that question again, that the technologies related to that, are they existing anywhere else in the world? Then I find the answer that those technologies are not existing. So the challenge before the country is to develop that technology which does not exist in any country, first time ahead of any other country. So that obviously was a part of the mandate and continues to be the mandate of the Department of Atomic Energy. So I asked the question that, well, what are the other areas where India has developed technologies which nobody else has developed and it can make such large impact? And I find it very hard to find one example. Even today, I find it very hard to find one example. Then I asked the next question. What is it that makes countries strong? What is it that makes other countries respect a particular country or our country, your country? Is it the financial wealth? Perhaps yes. Is there something even more important than that? And then you will come to this answer that countries who can create high impact technologies, impact at a global scale, and who can do this ahead of other countries are the strong countries in the world, are the countries respected in the world. Otherwise, the world won't respect Russia as much as it respects America, because they are not comparable on economic strength. And this technology strength is important both from the perspective of course, military strength, but it's also important from the perspective of economic strength. And so, to me, one of the most important attribute of a leading country in the world is a country which can bring out high impact technologies, which can make global impact ahead of other countries in the world. And you should be able to do that not just once, twice, but on an ongoing basis. That should be the capability in the country. And for me, with our ambition, we want to see India to be a leading country in the world. I think as a collective, it should be our ambition to be a country with that kind of capability. And you want to achieve that, the most important thing to play a role in that capability is in fact higher education and research. And of course there are other attributes which I will come to, but this is the This is the key. So for me, there are multiple dimensions. Basically, I'm going to talk about 3 dimensions of what we should be able to achieve through higher education in terms of national development. And the first is this: we should be able to make our country the front runner in global competition. And with the demographic dividend that we have in the country, and that dividend is not going to be for all time, it's only for a few next decades, and it's only that time window. Within that, we must achieve this strength, this capability. So that's the first challenge for higher education institutions. What does that mean? To me, it means we are able to pursue cutting edge work, both in terms of expanding the knowledge frontiers and also in terms of developing technological capabilities, as I mentioned. Now, technology has been always important, but in the contemporary times, this has become particularly very important. We are now talking about deep tech. We are talking about things in technology world changing at an amazing pace. Many times people are afraid that technology is evolving at a pace faster than humanity will be able to adopt. And that adds an additional dimension, the human dimension. You must not only develop technology, but you must prepare Indians. When you talk about human beings, there is nothing like ours and theirs, but still let me say our human beings. We must prepare them in a manner where they can adapt to this very rapidly changing technological world. In fact, the situation is, to my mind, so desperate that the normal governance systems, because governance systems also take time to evolve, call it legislative framework, call it machinery to manage law and order, the whole civil management framework, it has its own time constant to evolve. You can't change it completely in a very radical way overnight, because that itself is very hard to manage. So imagine that the technology or changing technology demands adjustment of civil order, adjustment of human behavior faster than our governance system can manage. What is the way out of the possible chaos? And the only way that can handle this is to make sure that the values inculcated in individual human beings are at the right place, are strongly embedded, and as a society we are sure that we, the human beings, will do no wrong. And that also is a part of education. So advancement on technology side and advancement at this level. And luckily India has a great heritage compared to many other civilizations or societies in the world. India does have a very strong and very important heritage. But maybe that is not enough. We need to build on that And that also is a dimension which we must be able to handle through our education environment. Coming back to technology, we are talking about, I mentioned about deep tech. We know that the economy, classical grouping of economy is agriculture, manufacturing, service sector. We're all struggling to make sure that our manufacturing contribution to economy goes up. Today, service sector is the largest contributor, in fact nearly 50% if the data available is right. Now, this has been so for a long time. Everybody wants manufacturing GDP to go up very fast. The components of this happening, earlier time, this was happening through classical manufacture. So you get technology from somewhere and then set up a manufacturing infrastructure on the basis of that technology and of course make economy grow. This was the traditional model. In India it is still occupies a significant fraction. Then came, for example, advanced countries. They thought that, look, manufacturing brings it several environmental issues and there are challenges, so much so we're afraid that it can lead to instabilities. So many advanced countries, they focus on marketing technology itself rather than doing manufacturing. So manufacturing has shifted from the first world to third world, as it were. And the first world makes money out of technology rather than manufacturing. Now things have gone even beyond. And today, if you see advanced countries and advanced industries in those countries, then you would find that the main source of income or contribution to economy is what are known as research-led industries. Industries which are doing concurrent research as they are doing business. And you will find many of these deep tech areas are of that kind. And in fact, I'm sure you are fully aware that there are many industries, not so much in our country but abroad, where there are some of these advanced topics. The research in industry is in fact comparable to best universities as far as that discipline is concerned. And in some cases, I will be surprised that the industry group is a bit more advanced compared to the groups in university. So you can notice the change that is taking place, and I think it's only a matter of time that that change will reflect here, provided we are ready. And that change coming in and our adopting to that change is in fact important if India wants to become a leading country. Today, there is actually a stiff competition between, say, United States and China on this very issue. And there are aspects where I hear that United States people are worried about China, that they are advancing. And that is because China's education system has truly capitalized on their human capital. China went through education reforms in last 25 years. Very structured university reform, very structured creation of new universities. And today they are where they are. We have also made a lot of progress. But I think we have to recognize that world is also moving very fast. So our progress has to be in tune with the speed with which the world is progressing, because it's only then that one would be able to rise in relative or competitive terms. So this is one important message that I thought I must stress and highlight on the foundation day of our university. I think that is the direction in which we must move. Luckily, we have a great movement taking place as a result of the national or new education policy that the whole country is working on. I'm sure you're also working on here in the university. But it's important that implementation of that policy takes place in a true sense, in the basic sense, and not gets limited to the bureaucratic way of implementing. Bureaucratic way is you have a circular coming from one central place and everybody follows it blindly, regardless of the ground situation. And that will actually cause distortion to education. So I think all of us, the members of academic community, I think the new education policy, the flexibility, diversity, consistency with local needs are some of the key elements in that policy. Now, in the name of following the circulars, in the name of filling the blanks or checking checkbox, I have done this, I have done this, I think a lot of damage could happen. So I think the academic community should, and everybody should be able to think by themselves, the so-called true autonomy, the autonomous thinking, the so-called zero-order thinking, where one checks out with the basic tenet of this new education policy and make sure that we don't lose the spirit of NEP while implementing NEP in letters, because normal process, that's what happens, and that danger, I would say, is very genuine, and we should make sure that we take full advantage of this wonderful policy. And there are several elements, particularly the student-centric, the faculty-centric. In fact, one university in India itself, I was very pleasantly surprised. They have gone as far as to give freedom to students to design their own degrees. BYOD, design your own degree. That's the level of, I know announcing this may be easy, doing this may be very tough, but I think those are the directions we should aim at, because that is what really unleash the capability and the power of India's demographic dividend. So I thought I must mention this. There are many things, we can go on and on, but I am conscious about the constraint of time. I'll just make two more points and stop. And so this is the first dimension of education. Make India great. Number one dimension, and it's the education and human capability, particularly through health. I have no time to talk about health, but I think that's equally important, because if the human body is not capable, the mind at times will have its own limitations. So, but then make India great, or shall I say, on the patterns of MAGA, make India great again, because India was a great country. Now, this is dimension number one. Dimension number two is India is a large country. India is a very diverse country. And we talk about tier 1 institution, tier 2 institution. Sometimes we talk about even tier 3 institution. And that is because they are not at the level of, same level of equipment, equipping themselves, not at the same level of performance. But they are actually shaping young minds in the country. So this diversity that exists in terms of the capability of higher education institutions, there is a huge difference. What I said, make India great again, I think all institutions cannot do. Some of the top level institutions in the country can attempt to do that. Remember, we still don't have a university in India which is within top 100 in the world. So we have miles to go in that direction. But then within that, within our best institutions and the rest, again there is a gap. And looking at the size of this country, we can't afford to, of course, you can't say that there will be no gap. There will be always gaps. In a class, not every student is alike. But we are talking about the average level going up. Similarly, we are talking about the average level of institutions. And I think we need several activities where we need to lift the standard of all these institutions, and there the tier 1 institutions must play a big role. So tier 1 institutions, while they have to focus on make India great again, they have to also focus their attention on kind of shared programs, collaborative programs, joint programs with tier 2 and tier 3 institutions. Now this time we can't say that, well, I'll talk about work in a tier 2 institution to get the globally best technology. Such a thing is very difficult. There may be exceptions, and exceptions are always, they prove the rule, but it's very tough. But I think focus of that work should be, in fact, to address local challenges. India has huge local challenges. Right from water, sanitation, environment, agriculture, what have you. And they are all having their own challenges, both in terms of science and technology, also in terms of other aspects of human capability. And those are equally important for raising the standard, general standard of life or quality of life of average Indian. And they are all institutions, the tier 1 institutions, but the muscle, the prime strength, prime force for doing that, in my view, could be the tier 2 institutions. And in the process, bring the whole their level up. And that is where the problem-solving attitude becomes extremely important. Of course, you must have problem-solving capability even to do the world-class work. But even here, the situation is many times our students, or many times our even education institutions, they find it hard to identify what is the problem that they should be solving. And that's a tragedy, I would say. We must be, every adversity has a challenge. And it is for people involved in education to figure out that challenge and create opportunity out of that adversity and use this ambience for the upbringing, training of young students. So that should be the second most important thing, and that's a much larger activity compared to the first one, because the number of institutions, number of students are very large. And of course there are, I think as a part of government policy, government does ask institutions to adopt villages, adopt challenges. So those elements are there. It's only a question of our recognizing these opportunities and moving in the right direction. The last point that I wish to make, which of course I made is a little reference to, is in terms of making sure that we all become the right kind of human beings. You know, there is always, see, we say we are humans, but we belong to the animal kingdom. So whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not, we are all animals in the first place. So there are animal instincts. Now the question is whether the animal instinct in us is stronger or the human instinct in us is stronger. And by the way, animal instinct is not bad. Survival, ability to dominate, these are all important things in a competitive environment. But if you do that forgetting the human values, then there is a disaster. So the point is, how do we create our generation and generation to follow to become good human beings? Again, there are many aspects to this, including spiritual and all. I am not going to get into that. I want to narrate a very simple thing from my perspective. Let's see whether it appeals to you or not. So we are all talking about innovation. It has become a buzzword. Startup culture is taking roots and growing very fast, very healthy sign in the country. Now, for all of us to survive, we all have what one may call a transactional mindset. You know, for everybody's living, trading has been an age-old livelihood activity or occupation. Now, so transactions are a given. You cannot escape transactions. But if the life is limited only to transactions, then you keep on examining how can I make a little more profit. I am buying something from somebody, I am selling something to somebody. How can I be little better than the other party with whom I am dealing with? Now, and this to me triggers the evil in the man. You can't say that in that thing you all remain all the time virtuous, because that environment is like that. And so we all become pious. It bites us that no, I had done something wrong. And the way out is to go to temple and put some dakshana, or go to some saint and listen to a discourse. And you all feel at peace that, well, I have washed out all my sins, but the next day I am ready to do what I have been doing yesterday. Now contrast that with an environment of new creation. We are talking about innovation. And I am not talking about creation in the context of just livelihood, creation of any kind. When you engage in creation, particularly when you engage in a group activity involving in creation, there is a joy. Why do we spend time listening to music? Why do we pursue several hobbies that gives you joy? And most of those hobbies, there are some which you pursue as individuals, but most of them you also work as a group, collective. And in fact, there are many aspects of fine arts you cannot do, or you can, but not, you know, for example, if you want to, if you are a stage artist, then it's a group activity. Even a musical performance, many times, most of the times, it's a group activity. Technology also, when you are creating new creation, there is a joy. I have done something new. I have done something which is making impact on life of people. I have created a product which a very large number of people use. Use means they like it, so I am happy. Now there is a joy part. The transaction will always be there. You want the technology, you want to take it to the market, all those transactional dialogue will always be there. You cannot avoid it. But when you are engaged in creative activity, there is a different kind of joy. And I'm not saying that when you are engaged in that activity, you can do no wrong. We are human beings. But in relative terms, I think the society will become more virtuous when society is engaged more in creative activity and restricting itself only to transactional activities. And I think that is very important in terms of preparing human beings. So now this is not just to be done only by university, this is to be done by society at large. And so as I said earlier, ability to look for challenges, opportunities in the problems that exist around and deriving joy out of creating something new, something different, something which helps people, it actually will take the world to a different level. And so I just wanted to leave this thought with you that while we prepare our younger colleagues, the young students, to be the front runner, to be the global leaders in many of these things, I think we should not lose track of our Indianness and in fact I would say build upon that, and that is what will take India. Because I think globally, sometimes it looks to me that the world is lost. There was a time when young people used to get very attracted to socialistic ideas. Even now that is so. But then in between a wave came that no, market economy, capitalistic ideas would probably do good for the world. Today the situation is even there are people who are doubting. So what should be the new order in the society or in the world? I think optimum is yet to be found. And it looks to me that with India's heritage, India's philosophy, India's demographic dividend, we have an opportunity to do something good, of course, for us Indians, but also for the world at large. And I think that's the simple message that I want to leave on the 42nd Foundation Day of the University. And I wish you all the best in the year. Thank you.
अब हम प्रेम की भेंट के रूप में गोवा विश्वविद्यालय में जन्मी किताब डॉक्टर मीनल देसाई शिरोडकर